The Iowa Hawkeyes with a big-time showdown coming up Saturday night on a nationally televised stage on Fox. The Hawkeyes and the Hoosiers will do battle inside Carver Hawkeye Arena. What to take away from Iowa's recent comeback victory over the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and what to look forward to in that Fox game on Saturday night between the Hawks and the Hoosiers. First of all, Iowa coming back from 15 points down to take down Fred Hoiberg and the Huskers. First half was ugly. Payton Sandfort goes 0 in the first half. He responded with 30 points in the second half. Now, he's got to figure out the consistency issues, and perhaps I'm beating a dead horse on that, and perhaps that just won't come. I mean, after all, he is a fourth-year player who is going to be heading for some level of pro basketball next season. But man, he has got to figure out a way to be more consistent, but certainly got to go in that second half. Ended up scoring 30, made a bunch of threes when it counted. In fact, 6 of 10 for the game for Payton Sandfort from three. How about Josh Dix? 31 points. This stat line is insane. 31 points for Josh Dix to go along with 10 of 14 shooting, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, 4 steals, and Josh Dix turned the ball over just one time. I'll double down on what I've said several times. He's the best player on the roster right now, and I don't think it's all that close. Payton has not figured out a way to be consistent. Owen Freeman has too many inconsistencies and weaknesses in his game to this point. Now, he's still young. I would have hoped for a bigger jump from year 1 to year 2. I agree with Coach Close on that. But certainly, Josh Dix's consistency is really helping Iowa, and it helped them just hang around in that first half. But again, Nebraska had built a 15-point lead. How about this? Iowa actually battled on the glass, a lot of that coming in the second half. These two teams shot the ball very similarly throughout. Nebraska about 47% from the field, Iowa 48%. Now, Iowa did make 17 threes, and certainly they needed all of those to mount the 15-point comeback. But Iowa was just -5 on the glass for a team that has been getting beat consistently by double figures in that category. Iowa battled nicely in that second half. Perhaps that propels them forward. They did get beat in the paint. Still too many letdowns on the defensive end in that first half and open three-point shooters. Nebraska does not have the shooters. Let's just acknowledge that. Coach Close brought this up after the Wisconsin game. There are going to be times where bad defense is overshadowed by a team that just can't make enough shots. And Nebraska, in some regards, was that team. They were 9 of 23, so not terrible from three, but they just don't have the shooters. That's just not who they are that Wisconsin does. Wisconsin's offense has become a power in this conference. But Iowa mounts the comeback behind a strong performance from Dix and Payton Sandfort. Price Sandfort was in double figures as well. Owen Freeman solid. Brock Harding struggled to protect the ball, finished with 6 turnovers. Drew Thelwell did not play due to a lower body injury. We expect him to be back for the game against Indiana. What to expect in that game? Well, before we get to my thoughts on the big Indiana game on a nationally televised stage, which will come on Saturday night on Fox, I want to give a big thank you to Brad Van Meter and his team down at State Farm. Brad's a part of our post-game and preview coverage for Iowa men's basketball during the 24-25 season. Call him for a quote, 515-256-6480, or you can visit him online, www.bradvanmeter.com. Save money on insurance with a great insurance team. Brad Van Meter and State Farm in Des Moines, 515-256-6480. So the Hawks and the Hoosiers under the lights of Carver Hawkeye Arena on Saturday evening. What to expect from this game? This is an Indiana team, first of all, that has struggled at times this year. They really looked bad against Louisville earlier in the year, and you'll recall Louisville has been down. That program has been a disgrace on that ACC conference for some time now, and Indiana really got boat raced in that game. Also lost to Gonzaga down at the Battle for Atlantis. Now, since then, they've been pretty good. They've not played a real difficult schedule, with the exception being that game against Gonzaga, which came on a neutral court. I mean, their wins are over Penn State. They beat Rutgers. They did beat a USC team that isn't quite as good as I anticipated. Iowa will play the Trojans here in about a week. They also have a win over Providence. They actually got beat by double figures, got beat soundly by the Nebraska Cornhuskers, the same team Iowa's coming off a win against, and they have a win against South Carolina. But this is a team led by Mike Woodson that's been a bit up and down in spite of the slow schedule start, if you will. And so Iowa's got an opportunity to come out here, ride momentum. Really important game. If Iowa doesn't win this game, it's yet another game you have to make up on the road. I don't think this team, I'm talking about Iowa, I don't think this team makes the NCAA tournament without at least being one game over 500. In other words, I think they have to be 11-9 to make the NCAA tournament, unless they do some serious work in the conference tournament. Maybe you get in with a couple of wins in the conference tournament if you're 10-10 in the regular season, but that means you can't afford to drop games at home. So far, Iowa's 2-0 at home in the Big Ten, and they're 0-2 away from home. So this is a home game, and of course, Iowa will travel out to California. We'll see what happens with the Fires out there, that UCLA and USC stretch. That will be difficult, and who knows where those games will be played with all the catastrophe out in Southern Cal. Now, Indiana is never short of talent. Trey Galloway, it seems like he's been there forever. Malik Renault, he's a young budding star that won a couple of national titles at the high school level, but it sounds like he may be questionable for this upcoming game against the Hawks. Have not heard final word on Renault's availability. But we know how Mike Woodson wants to play. He wants to play up and down. There has been some bad blood between Fran McCaffrey and Mike Woodson, at least in past years. So this is a statement opportunity for a Hawkeye team that has failed to take advantage of the few opportunities at statement wins. Really, the Iowa State game is the one you got to point to, where they were up the majority of that game, but failed to seal the deal. That might be the best team in the country. The Cyclones are playing like the best team in the country right now. So we'll have post-game coverage after the game, as always, right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. But just wanted to check in. Did not do a live post-game show after Iowa, Nebraska due to a scheduling conflict. So be sure you're here after the game on Saturday. I will be live with you, coming at you with a live call-in post-game coverage following Iowa, Indiana, which will tip off at 7 p.m. Central Time on Fox. Yes, that's Fox on Saturday night, prime time for the Hawks and the Hoosiers. We'll talk to you then.